News at 6.
West Virginia House of Delegates Finance Chair Vernon Criss is making a late push to keep his seat. After losing the Republican primary, Criss has filed to run as a write-in candidate for the 12th district this November. We sat down with Criss to talk about why he's running. Criss says it's about giving voters a choice. He says this year's closed Republican primary excluded independent voters he expects to come out in November.
They were not able to exercise their right to vote in the closed Republican primary. It's sad that we couldn't have that opportunity in the primary, so the only avenue we had to help the decision for the independent voters was to do a write-in campaign for the fall so they have the opportunity.
Criss covered more than just the write-in bid in our interview, including his clashes with the governor over the state budget and the ongoing fight over TANF and clothing voucher funding. You'll be able to find the whole interview with Delegate Criss at WTAP.com.